It's not impossible to get your life back. I see a lot of sad people. I have a friend that spent 19 years in solitary that has 1 year clean time. He's a good friend of mine. If a guy in solitary confinement can come into NA and get clean, I think the rest of you can. And just think about what you're doing to the people around you, because if you think that you're using and you're good and you're not hurting anybody, you're fooling yourself. Because look at all the things I just said that I did that I never thought that hurt anybody.
That was Alekzandr Mac, and this is the SHAIR Podcast.
It's time for the SHAIR Recovery Podcast, where we bring you amazing life-changing success stories from addicts and alcoholics all over the world who share their inspiring journey in recovery. And now, here's your host,
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the SHAIR Podcast. And today I'm excited to announce that I have my good friend Alekzandr Mac joining us on the show today. Alekzandr, or as we affectionately refer to him as Ant, came to me about a year and a half ago. Well, he called me from Nevada and said, I've been lying to you. I'm not clean. I've been on suboxone for 10 years, and now I'm hooked on Vicodin again as well, and I'm done, bro. So I'm locking myself up in my backyard. I'm either going to kick or I'm going to die, but I'm done with this shit. And for the next 2 weeks, him and I texted every single day and called every single day to get him through the madness. And today he's here to share his unbelievable story. He's my friend, he's my brother, and he's a proud member of Narcotics Anonymous. And for him, it's the only way. So let's dive into Ant's story. But first, I'm excited to announce the launch of our brand new online membership community, SHAIR Space. It's a private, paid community where as a group, we take our careers, our health, our relationships, and our recovery to another level. Each week, you will get on a membership call live with me and the other members of SHAIR Space, and we will have open discussions where we discuss what's holding you back, your limiting beliefs, and how to find all the happiness, fulfillment, and purpose that you deserve in your life. So for more information on how to become a member of the SHAIR Space tribe, then go to www.shairspace.net. Remember to spell SHAIR, S-H-A-I-R. And if you like what you see, then sign up for a free 15-minute call with me to see if SHAIR Space is the right place for you. SHAIR Space. It's time to believe in yourself again. And for those of you that are looking for the perfect recovery gift to give to yourself or to a friend in recovery, then go to www.allrecoveryrings.com. At All Recovery Rings, you can have any recovery medallion beautifully transformed into a ring you can wear on your finger. All you need to do is select the medallion of your choice, submit your ring size, and All Recovery Rings will create the perfect ring for you. So go to www.allrecoveryrings.com and order your recovery ring today. And for those of you who love listening to the SHAIR Podcast and want to enhance your recovery, then join us in our SHAIR Facebook private group, the SHAIR Recovery Network. In this free Facebook private group, you will meet thousands of people in recovery that are loving, caring, and being of service. If you're struggling in your recovery or you're struggling in life, then this might be the perfect place for you. The purpose of the SHAIR Recovery Network is to discuss recovery in all of its facets, in all of its pathways, in a way that is attractive and all-inclusive. So to join us in this Facebook private group, go to Facebook, go to the search bar, type in SHAIR Recovery Network, and our private Facebook group will pop right up. So join us today. And if you haven't done so already, don't forget to leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. It's one of the best ways to show your support for the podcast. And speaking of kick-ass reviews, our next one is from Justin Hertz. The title is Awesome Recovery Podcast. And Justin writes, "The SHAIR Podcast was one of the very first podcasts I ever listened to, and I have been hooked to this podcast ever since. This podcast will help anyone who is currently struggling with addiction, in recovery, or has a loved one that struggles with addiction. Keep up the good work, Omar." Thanks for the love, Justin. Thanks for the review. And it's the reason why 3 years later, I'm still producing the podcast and really see no end in sight. This podcast has been a gift and a blessing for so many, including myself. Much love, brother, and HP, baby. Now, a quick message from Transitions Daily and then on to the show. Would you like to join a free, anonymous online group that offers a daily topic email with popular recovery resources accompanied by a secret Facebook group for discussion? Then go to dailyaaemails.com for more information about Transitions Daily. And don't forget to share dailyaaemails.com with friends, in meetings, and with sponsees in recovery. Hey, Ann, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Omar, glad to be here.
What is that? Let's go.
Okay. Again? What's up, Bo?
That's what I'm talking about. Let's bring this shit, man.
Let me have a drink of this Coke.
Let's have a little drink of this Coke.
Okay, sorry.
All right, you guys are going to probably hear some laughing in the background. This is the first time I'm doing a live interview, and I've got my amazing friend, Anthony Mac, joining us on the SHAIR Podcast. Ant is a longtime friend and a very prominent member in the SHAIR Podcast Private Accountability Group. What up, Ant? How you feeling, buddy? Any shout-outs?
Feeling great, man. A shout-out to all the people on the SHAIR group, like Gabby, and that's right, and Val, and a lot of those good guys.
Excellent. I'm glad you have a good time in there.
Girls actually.
The girls in there.
Yeah, you can't 13 step over the internet. So
No,
I'm just kidding.
No, but actually you can't.
No, right. We don't do that anymore, right?
We don't do that anymore. All right, excellent. All right, so before we get started, first of all, Anthony, tell us about your normal daily routine. What do you do on a regular basis, including recovery?
Now?
Correct.
In the last 15 months. So, now that I have some time and, I've over 15 months clean. So after the 60 days of withdrawal and when I started getting some things together and started to really feel over the last, few months, my daily routine is trying to go through all the wreckage that I've had caused over 20 something years, which is not easy because, it's complicated because when you marry someone and you're using who used, but then we have a baby and she goes, well, I'm done using, but I still use, and didn't stop using. I have a lot of wreckage and a lot of things to clean, and so it took me some time to recognize it's not all about just getting clean, honey, and we're gonna be back perfect. That was my thing, is that when I got into the program, that night when you told me to get into a meeting, I got into a meeting and got a sponsor and spent a lot of my time in recovery, a lot of it. So not only, when I was out using, I was gone. When I got into recovery, I was gone.
Yes, that's very familiar. That happens a lot.
You know what I mean? Because it became so important to me. So my step one is I can work a hardcore step one, not pick up. And, but now when I have a track record, my wife, she walked into my 1 year, which was September 1st. And she started to wonder when I'm going to change. And I don't know if you know, the Aussies have a word that they say, it's a C word.
No, what is it?
Cunt. It's British. The British say it, right? But she says, she'll say to me, even with stupid, simple stuff, like putting the spoon that's small into the big spoon thing. You're the same junkie cunt. And I'm like, I'm trying, So, my daily thing is trying to do the next right thing. And it's not easy when you haven't done the right thing for so many years. It's like being an infant. When I first got clean, I couldn't make macaroni. I didn't know how to sit with my kids. Even after 100 days, I still didn't know how to sit with my kids or deal with my wife. After 30 days, I thought I should be getting laid. And my wife said, no, come see me in a year. So she did show up to my 1 year. So that, that all comes to today. Today I really have to work the steps and live the steps because the fiend in me, I could be clean but live really dirty.
I understand.
And I have a big tendency to do that, and act out in certain ways and stuff like that. So, I got a new sponsor, and he's helping me on my day-to-day routine. I'm going to the gym 10 days in a row.
Ooh.
Well, now I've been in Costa Rica, so I haven't.
Yeah, I don't know about that. How long have you been in Costa Rica now?
5 days.
Yeah, so...
Yeah, so actually I haven't been in the gym 10 days in a row. But my ego's telling me that I'm looking buff, and it looks like I've been in the gym 10 days in a row, right?
Look at the guy next to you. You're not buff.
No, but it's very hard for me, because I had to not only getting clean, I went through a process of letting myself free from work and employment. Okay? And you and I have a mutual friend, then he said, go get clean, get done. And so, I haven't worked since September, since I had a disaster here in August of 2016 and flew home and got clean. I haven't worked since then. So I have another year that I need to really start working and living the steps the right way. You know what I mean? And not just reading it. You know what I mean? Living it on a day-to-day basis.
Well, you're working it in the NA fellowship, right?
NA, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so this is my daily routine. So I wake up, and now I can actually deal with making Vegemite sandwiches. Like, I could really
What in the fuck are Vegemite sandwiches?
Okay, so...
Really?
My wife is a vegan.
Okay.
So when I got clean, I was like, honey, I'm going to be a vegan. I'm going to stop smoking. I'm going to stop using. I'm going to stop doing all this shit. But, of course, you're pointing to my cigarettes.
Yeah.
But I had to first stop what was going to kill me today. And I thought I'll deal with the rest later. But anyway, so my wife's hardcore vegan. But I would always be the guy who went to Jack in a Box on the way home, ate it in the car, threw it out the window.
Yes, I was that guy too. Yes, yes,
that guy,
yes.
Right? Okay.
I am that guy.
So my wife is a very strict vegan. Everything in our house is organic. And, you talk to her.
Dude, I know who she is.
She's real pain in the ass stuff.
I didn't say
right?
that. Natalie, I did not say that.
Who washes out Coke bottles for recycling? I don't know, because I don't do that. Okay? So anyways, my kids have a very strict diet. They live a certain way. My wife is actually she's a good mom. Okay? So now, let's go back to my life today. So now I'm just getting into the routine where I could get up in the morning at 6:45, press the toaster. Okay? And then I can go, I'm going to actually make this Vegemite sandwich. Fuck the butter, because I'm going to skip that.
Okay.
Then I got to go, wait. Let me do it the right way. Let me put the butter and then put the Vegemite. Vegemite is an Australian white yeast extract, okay? I hate it. It's gross. But anyway, so I can actually do that part, get the kids up, actually get them dressed, and that took a long time for me. This is not funny stuff, really. It is funny to me now. Sorry. But this is what we deal with. This is what I deal with as over, 2 decades of using, and so then I'm able to take them to school and not stop at the store and make them all late now. You know how, because when my wife would go to Australia and I'd be home with the kids and I'd be using, usually I wouldn't make them go to school. Or I'd say, we'll go at 10. It would be late, so my wife would be like, hey, the kids have 21 tardies and this and that. But I'm getting some structure, finally, okay? And so I'm able to get up, get the kids, and start doing some of the things that I owe my wife, for what I have wrecked during all these years. So, I can get them to school on time, and I actually get them to school. And one of my priorities is, I still have the rituals. I go to this little curb store, and I'll get a 5-hour energy drink. I'll drink that, and I'll sit on the curb, and I'll smoke, and I'll think about, I'll just look in the air and just look at the clouds and stuff, simple stuff. That I do that every morning. And then I'll go home, and then I'll be like, hey, honey, the kids are at school. And she'll say, are you going to another meeting today? And I'm like, I'm going to the gym. She's going, We'll go to the gym, but no meeting today. And I'm like, no, gym, meeting. You know, it's hard to get a normal person to understand how much this program has helped me. You know, some people may think, and this is my wife, I got clean with no detox. We're sitting in a detox center right now. I've never even, I speak in them, but I've never been in one. I got clean.
Don't go too deep into that one.
All right.
Because you're going to get into that later.
So
daily routine, stay with me. Stay
okay.
focused.
It's hard for me. My brain's got 40 hamsters in it.
Yeah.
Hold on. I'm normally like this anyways. But so even clean. And so, okay, so then I'll hit the gym the last 10 days. Oh, no, I'm sorry, 5 days I was here. But I was there, and everyone, all my fellowship brothers were like, well, I'll bet you $1,000 you can't do 30 days in a row. I'm like, you kidding me? You know how my brain works, bro? Let's do it. But then I came here, so so now I'm on hiatus. But I got to get back to the gym, and then I hit my 12, and then I'll hit my 9, o'clock meetings, and the only thing right now that I really have to be somewhere is for my commitment on Tuesdays to secretary to 12. That's a big deal to be somewhere at 11:15 now these days, and have to make sure the coffee's made and the pamphlets are out, and get a chairperson. That's a big part of my week. So how it's my recovery is gradually getting better. I can do more than one thing in a day. I can do 2 things in a day now, maybe 3. But so I write it down because you get overwhelmed with the wife trying to bring all the shit to every day now, saying, well, you didn't pay this 10 years ago. There was a bill from when the kid was born. I'm like, oh, please don't bring all this up. I can do 2 things a day. That's it. So, and then I hang out with my kids. I pick them up and watch a little Netflix and talk to my friends in the fellowship. I'm big in the fellowship in Las Vegas, and that's pretty much my day. My day's very simple. I need to keep it simple, Omar.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
I do. So tell us how old you were the first time you drank or used drugs, and more importantly, how did they make you feel?
Okay, so for me, drinking started probably at the age of 13. It started with, I can remember the day that I first got loaded or drunk. It started with a neighbor's party, and I drank a bottle of Boone's Farm. That good wine?
Oh, dude, the Boone's Farm, so nasty.
Excuse me. So I drank a bottle of Boone's Farm, and I was never a beer guy. You know what I mean? I like the sweet stuff. So, and then it was Bartles and James, and then you had like those other Seagram's coolers,
the wine coolers.
Yeah, and then so I started about 13 drinking Boone's Farm on the weekends. That was a little bit of here and there, but I'd get loaded. I didn't drink just to like drink and hold one. I drank to get loaded. Right. And then probably when I was about 15 or 16. And then you start smoking some weed, even though your mom is, telling you don't hang out with them because they smoke weed. You know what I mean? So, but I did anyways. But so then I tried out with weed. Then someone one time gave me a Primo. I don't remember Primos.
I think it was, wasn't it? Didn't they have cocaine in it?
Cocaine.
Yeah, cocaine in it, right?
So I smoked one of them, and I almost had a heart attack. And I remember being on the floor and trying to take my pulse, and I was going, man, I'm having a heart attack. Should I tell my mom? I was like, no, I better just die in here. But anyways, so that evolved into me drinking to the point where about, the same age, 16, around there, to where I was beer bonging Boone's Farm and like Thunderbird and just getting loaded, So, and that continued, and I ended up with a DUI. Oh, actually, I lied. I have been in a detox facility.
Okay, all right.
I lied.
Okay, hold on. It was the first time you drank or used drugs. All right, we got that.
Okay.
All right. How much clean time do you have, and when's your anniversary date?
September 1st, 2016. So I have over a year, almost a little more than 15 months.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Right. Who's running the show here? I'm just joking.
Okay. You're obviously all warmed up, so I'm actually now going to turn the show over to you. So, Ant, please share your experience, strength, and hope with us. The battle against drugs and alcohol, the wreckage it caused in your life, when you hit rock bottom, and then finally your journey into recovery up until today. So, Ant, now please take it away.
You may just rip into it.
Rip into it, buddy. This is your time, your story.
Okay. So like I said, a lot of my using started in the teens, and I never thought I was a real addict because I didn't do coke and I didn't do heroin and I didn't do the stuff that the other guys did. I only drank, maybe smoked some bud, and this and that. And when I turned 17, I was with some friends and we had been drinking, and I ended up with my first DUI. And my mom, when I got home from California, she actually did put me in a treatment center, and my dad, who is in his active addiction, pulled me out the next day. And then from there, I never, I went to school and I went to UNLV and, did those things and used the entire time. But it didn't come about until about the late 90s that I discovered drinking really was too much, because you could take like 10 Lortabs and be like cool without drinking all that stuff. That I said, I don't need a drink. I could take these pills. It's like getting loaded. It's without booze. So then that's when I got into pharmaceuticals. So when I got into the pharmaceuticals, I never stopped. You guys laughing. I never, it just kept going, and so this is late 90s. And, when I discovered Lortabs and Valiums, and actually the real good old Valiums with the V in the middle, hollowed out. You probably don't remember those. There was no Quaaludes in the 90s either. But you can make that stuff. You can figure it out.
Dude, I didn't start doing drugs until I came to Costa Rica. I smoked some weed and drank some booze in the States. So it got to a point where I and I'll tell you, my dad is in active addiction still, and he's still alive. One day he gave me a liquid Lortab, and my dad was at my apartment in Las Vegas. It was about 1999, and he took 5 Norcos, which are light Tylenol, because the addict's mind is really sick. It's like, I can take this many as long as I don't cross the Tylenol line. You know what I'm saying? Gotcha.
It's like so let me get Norcos so I can take more because there's less Tylenol. It's complicated. So, but my thing started with the pills and stuff, and what really got me going was these liquid Lortabs. We thought they were so cool. It was like, oh wow, liquid Lortabs. And so I ended up traveling and a little bit to Europe, and then I learned some other pharmaceuticals in Romania where I lived, and they were like 5 cents. You could buy like all you want there, So I would just stock up, and I'm going into my first brush with a consequence of this, because my dad always told me you have till you're 45 to fuck up. And that stayed in my brain, ingrained in my brain. I got clean when I was 45.
No.
So I went to Romania, and you got to remember, when you leave countries, it's very, very hard, because you have to make sure you have dope, because you're far away. And so I brought in the country in LAX a load of Valium, and the DEA caught me, and they detained me, and they said they asked about the stuff I had with me, and I said it was for my doctor. This is for me, So it was kind of crazy, because they actually they detained me, and then I had the Romanian doctor call in and say, yeah, they're his, and then 2 weeks later they sent him to me in the mail, the DEA emblem with all the pills in there. And I was like, wow, right on. This is cool. But anyways, so, but I still didn't think I was an addict. I just thought that I was having fun, getting through college and using and, all that kind of stuff. And but it got deeper and deeper, because because my tolerance was getting to the point where when you first, anyone who's ever tried opioids, when you first use and someone gives you one and you watch them take 5, you're like, I'll never be that dude. I'll never take 5. You know what I mean? And then like 3 months later, you're taking 5 at a time. And then you reach like 24 day. Oh. And then you need the stronger stuff. You know what I mean? Plus, you're hard to get. You know what I mean? So, I lived. I had a good family, and I never had real consequences until a little bit later on. Maybe it was a little bit after college, in probably 99, let's say. I took a trip down to Mexico and thought that I had a smart idea that I would bring back a bunch of dope. And when and it was easy, like I just drove down there and I was like, hey, my name is Romania, man. What's going on? Can I have like some Oxys and Lortabs and this and that and Valiums and Xanax, this and that? Like whatever you need, man. So then I drove them back across the border. I told my dad and my other dad, who were both addicts, one of them passed away, but I said, man, we can go down there and just get our own. Like we don't need to pay the streets anymore, because this is when the doctors were tightening up and all that kind of stuff. So then I would go down there with my dads, my stepdad, my real dad. We'd go like, in a Lexus with no luggage, and we'd just like cruise into the thing and buy like 5,000 of each of whatever, no luggage, and we'd cross the border, and it was nothing until we all got home, where like you when you try to separate them all, and you're kind of like, well, let's just separate them here, 1, 2, 3, and like, no, we got to count this shit. And I'm like, no, we don't need to count it here. It's just like this. But we were all fucking crazy. You know what I mean? So I had my Mexico. I had my my doctors in the States. But I was running. It was getting worse and worse and worse, until the point where I actually went back down to the same guys, and I'm like, hey, I'm Romania, man. Yeah, I'm here to get my stuff. Like, all right. And I paid, and they told me to go to a house, go to this house in this neighborhood and pick up your shit. I was like, okay, that's cool. And so we drove to this house, and, a bunch of, guys were in there. I mean, Mexican guys. And they said, your stuff's out in that diesel. And I said, what diesel? And they're like, that diesel. Unload that fucker, and then your stuff's in the back. So they made me unload a diesel with my dad to get to our shit in the back. So when we got to our shit in the back, you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm gonna get this, and it's gonna be this small. Like I'm gonna get 5,000 of these pills, but it's gonna be in a little bag. You know what I mean? So there's still all these boxes, and I'm like, cool. What's this? And he goes, that's all yours. And so I'm like, all these boxes are all mine? He's like, yeah. And I opened them up, and there were sample packs. So we had to get a hotel room and, all night, pop them out. And we were popping them out all night and popping them out and popping them out. And
were you doing them all too?
Oh, yeah. It was to the point.
So you're Omar, fucking high the whole time?
I mean, Omar, it was to the point where if we cross the border, who's going to believe, like, no, this is for me? You know what I mean? You have intent to sell. No, this is for me. And my dad, this is ours. We're not selling this shit. But anyways, so going on with not learning and still not thinking I'm an addict. With all the behaviors and stuff. And I still haven't drank. I was just on the big pharmaceutical train. And I kept using. You saw me using. I told you I was clean, but. You told me I was clean. I told you I was clean when I would come down here and stuff like that.
Every fucking time I saw you, that's how we met.
That's how we met.
We met at a restaurant.
I was clean.
And you found out, no. He was clean on fucking suboxone, right?
Oh, I'll get to that part. So.
No, but bottom line, when we met, right, it was like, somehow it came on the topic of the podcast. And you were like, oh, what's the podcast about? It's about Rico. Oh, dude,
I'm clean, bro.
We're brothers. We're brothers. I've been clean for like 8 years now. I'm like, awesome, dude. Let's go to a meeting. Yeah. Okay.
That's true. That's true.
Full of shit.
But there came a point that I was done. I was tired. Well, I thought I was in my head. I was like, I'm not going to do this. And my dad's like, hey, we can get this new stuff. It's called suboxone to get us off all these years of opiates and Xanax or whatever it was. And I was like, whoa, we can do it. So I remember going, this is December 12th, 2006. I always remember the day because my wife was pregnant with our first kid. I said, I'm getting clean, man. I'm going to go fucking get some suboxones and I'm good. And I went to this specialist and I said to her, I said, I want to get in the suboxone program. And back then they only had 30 people that were allowed in the program, per doctor. Now with the so-called epidemic now, which has been over 25 years ago, but they say it's now, they're only allowed 30 people. And I was fortunate enough to get in there. And so I talked to her and I said, listen, I need to kick all these opiates and stuff like that. And she's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. All right. And the whole time I'm thinking to myself, she's going to give me a script and I'll fill it in like a month. And literally just keep using and keep using, And so she said to me, she says, did you use this morning? And I'm thinking to myself, I told the truth or do I lie? And this and that. Of course I used because I got to the point where I had to use when I slept. So I'd wake up at 2 a.m, 6 a.m, use, take, whatever, Roxy's. And I graduated Roxy's. Let's get that part in. So it got really bad. So I lied to her, and she said, if you're lying to me, you're going to hate me. And so I was like, no, man, I'm good. I'm good. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to fill this prescription in like a month, for this new suboxone stuff. So she said, okay, let's go next door. I'm going to get you we're going to get the script. She brought me back in, and she goes, all right, take one. And she goes, if you're lying, you're going to hate me. And I was like, all right, no problem. And I took it, and I went into immediate withdrawal. Like Narcan, it felt like that. I was just beat. She goes, you lied. And so, but it was weird, because the prescription for the Suboxone, it's not like methadone where you go get it in the morning and or you'll get a little bit here and there. They just say, here's 60, 2 a day, 8 milligrams, this and that. And, but I can tell you after a few days, but I was taking Xanax, she was giving me Xanax too. So I was taking 2 or 3 extended release Xanax with Zoloft with the Suboxone. So I was high. At first, I gotta be honest with you. At first, after like a day with the Suboxone, I was like, holy shit. They invented like a miracle drug. I feel so good. I was calling everybody like, I have no more marshmallows in my head. I'm cured. I can't believe this shit. This stuff works. But then, like a normal addict, because Suboxone used to be pills in the old days with a sword on it, which should be a sword that should be stuck in your head. But and then you learn how to inject them, and then you learn how to mix them with Xanax and all the Adderall and stuff like that. So I was still loaded. I was good. You know what I'm saying? To the point where I was messier with the M8, the medical assisted treatment, than I was before. Even if I was doing heroin, I was a disaster, literally, to the point where my wife kicked me downstairs and said, you live down here. Because I was falling asleep with ice cream sandwiches and dropping my phone in a Slurpee and doing all crazy shit. And I was like a robot. I was literally like a robot, and I would get caught up just doing nothing, and so I stayed on the Suboxone and the Xanax and the Zoloft and I dabbled with the Adderall and drank 3 5-hour energy drinks, and I'm getting to a point of the story about the 5-hour energy drinks, because 5-hour energy drinks for me were like a speedball, you know what I mean? But instead of injecting like a Coke or something or doing blow, I just drink 5-hour energy drinks all day long. I drink like 4 a day. I'd walk in there and go, hey, how many of these can you drink a day? And they'd be like, I don't know how many you want. I go, can I drink like 4 of these a day? But then I would start drinking Red Bull and all this stuff. So I was maintaining this very toxic behavior daily. You know what I mean? Just like morning, suboxone and Xanax, and take my pills and eating my pills, this and that. And with all the bad drinks and all the bad food, and peeing in the bed, and eating all that kind of crazy shit. And so, I was loaded, just as loaded as before.
You used to pee in the bed?
Yeah, I used to pee. Oh, Frankie, right? you know Frankie, my dog, Frankie.
Yeah,
my gorgeous dog.
Yeah,
people in the group know it.
I know, I've seen it, little gray one.
But I'll tell you, like, I was so loaded with this mixture of drugs that when he slept with me, because he was my buddy, he's my user buddy, for all these years. So he slept with me. So one night he was on the side of the bed, but I thought he was on the other side of the bed. And I had this elliptical machine that I never used. It was in my office downstairs with the bed. And he was like itching me, whatever. So I threw him, and I thought I was throwing him on the other side of the bed. And I heard this bong. And so I had actually threw him into the elliptical machine. And he's like 3 pounds. He's 3 pounds. And he just was laying there with his tongue out. And so normal, my behavior is I got him and I put him on this white carpet in the living room, and I went outside and I was smoking. And I was looking in there going, all right, I'm going to tell my kids that he ran away. No. Maybe I should just bury him. And you get all, I was fucking loony. I was a fucking Looney Tune, And you wouldn't believe it. After 15 minutes of just letting my dogs, who I love my dog to death, he just got up and started walking around.
Oh,
I was
dude.
like, right on. I don't got to explain this one. I'm going back to bed.
Dude.
You know what I mean? But so I did have a long stint with the suboxone, but when you have the opiate thing, you know how to use it, where you stop the suboxone for a day. You're like, all right, I'll stop it for 18 hours because that's the cutoff line. I know opiates will work, and let me get on some opiates again. I'll save these suboxones, and this is the way it was going to be. And so my stepfather, my mom had this great idea that I was going to take him to Italy, 2 addicts, with my mother-in-law and my wife, who's a normie, and my 1-year-old baby. So when we got there, we get to Italy, and I'm like, Steve, maybe I should hold your dope. And he's like, what do you mean? I go, because you'll probably run out faster than me. But I was manipulating him so I can have his dope. And these are all pharmaceuticals. Now the suboxone's pushed away, so now you're dealing with back to the
opiate.
Dilaudid,
okay,
the monsters or panas. That kind of
Oh,
stuff.
dude. Opana, Jesus.
So I convinced him, I said, I should probably hold half your stuff. So 3 days later, his half was gone. And so I was like, well, let me regulate yours. So by the time the trip was ending, we had no dope left. And so I left him there in Italy and flew home with just enough to get me home. And I flew to Atlanta, and I got home. I still was okay, because I had enough in me. And I said to my mom, I called her and I said, hey, Mom, where are you? I go, I'm in Atlanta. And she goes, where's Steve? Where's Dad? Stepdad? And I go, oh, he's back in Italy. And I made it home, and he ended up missing because he was so dope sick. He was chasing around doctors in Italy, which it's not like normal drugs there. It's not like you could go, give me some Dilaudid, some Lortab, some, all these other drugs. So he had a hard time, but he made it home 3 days later. And so that's when I thought to myself, you know what, I really need to get back on suboxone again. So I got on suboxone again, and now we're going on like years of suboxone and Xanax and Zoloft and all this kind of shit. And I didn't have an urge to stop at all. Even when I came out here and saw you, and I lived out here and stuff like that, and you'd cruise by and go, you want to go to a meeting? I'd be like, nah, man, I'm good, bro. Clean. And because I was taking suboxone, I was clean. This is why I write about suboxone in the group chat a lot, because I spent 10 years on that stuff. You know what I mean? So when there came a point that I still didn't get it, and that was when my mom was dying. Okay? I was using and Red Bulling and 5-hour energy drink because I needed to stay awake, you know? And this is 2012. My mom was dying, and when I brought her from the hospital home to with a hospice care, she died with only me there. And I called the coroner, but the first thing in my head was, where's all the fucking dope? You know, so I made sure I got all the dope, and it was like fentanyl patches and all this kind of stuff. And my mom was dead. She was laying right there next to me. You know, that's how sick this disease is. You know what I mean? So I'm collecting dope. My mom's dead. I haven't called my brother yet. You know, this and that, but I'm making sure I got all the dope. Put it in the car, and then I'm like, guys, mom passed away. It's, you know, and then everybody comes over and stuff like that. But 3 days before that, we're getting back to the Red Bull thing. My mom told me 3 days before she passed away, she said, Anthony, I know you'll never stop using drugs. Please stop drinking the 5-hour energy drinks and stuff like that.
Oh, dude.
And, you know, I was like, yeah, I can do that, Mom. But you don't, you know what I mean? She dies, and then you're using again, and then I'm still doing the same shit again. She was worried about my heart because, you know, I'm always so hyper, you know how I am. If I did blow and stuff, I'd be dead, or you know, I'm deadly afraid of like meth. See, that's why I never thought I was really an addict, because I never did like meth. To me, it's like, meth? Oh, you're fucking nuts. Meth? Holy shit. Crack? You know, as long as I stayed within my comfort zone of the using of pharmaceuticals and stuff like that, I was cool. I wasn't an addict. And then 3 weeks later, my stepfather died. My Opana buddy. And that was in 2012. And, you know, I can honestly tell you that it's hard for me and to even talk about it, because I didn't feel anything. I didn't cry. And I had both of my stepfather for 35 years, and my mom, he was an addict. He died of partially this disease as well, and of addiction. And my mom had a double funeral, and I didn't feel. You know, I was good. And I was like, okay. And this was the first time I really ever saw a consequence bash me in the head. Because when they both died, my brothers, who all came over, they only smoked weed. You know, so like weed is okay. You know, not to me, but like, you know, to some people it's like, I just smoke bud, no big deal. You know, I can do it. You know, I don't know it. I couldn't do it, but, and so we couldn't find the will. So I searched the whole house with them, and I was all by myself, and I found the will. And meanwhile, you got to remember, I have a new wife now. In between this stuff, you know, I wrecked the other one by being, what's the word, infidelity or something? Being
unfaithful.
Unfaithful.
You were married before?
Yeah,
I did not know this.
I wrecked her too, but anyways, but I gave her, you know, she ended up with a house and she's good. She works at a church now, by the way. Okay, but she's a great woman. But, you know, when you're 35 and a 22-year-old looks at you from Australia and you're looking at her and you're just like, I was done. You know, this is my brain going again. I was like, you need to move here. You know, so I got her an apartment, and my mom, this is also part of what the will said. And so, you know, I got an apartment, and poor Cammie, she was left to burn, and because I had a 22-year-old that I was just like, right on. And the first thing she asked me in the car, you wouldn't believe it, when we left the hotel there, she said to me, she goes, you know, in Australia we hear about these cool pills you guys got here. And I was like, right on, my girl. I opened the glove box, and we were getting loaded, you know, from then. But so then I had a new wife, the young one, you know, and we had the kids and stuff like that. But anyways, going back to my mom, when I found the will, my mom was really pissed off what I did with my ex-wife as well, because she was a saint. She works in a church. You know what I mean? She would bring me like food to work every day. You know what I mean? And I was using and listening to like my Alice in Chains using music, and she would walk in and make sure I wasn't dead. And this is when I was with her, the divorced one. And my mom loved her. You know, my mom loved her. She loved you too, Natalie, if you ever listen to this. So I hope my wife's not part of this group podcast. But,
She's not.
Don't let her in. So anyways, so when I found the will said in big letters, Anthony gets nothing.
Oh, get out.
Fucking blew my mind. I was just like, wow. But then my brothers fixed it. They're like, don't worry, Aunt. We'll fix it. We'll divide it all up. Because I had two dead parents, you know. We'll just divide it all up, you know. And so my brothers were cool about it, you know. But when you see your mom's handwriting say, Anthony gets nothing, 0, goose egg, I was like, you know. And that was one of the first big blows. But I kept using. You know, it kept going on and on. And it was coming, you know, being 45 now, okay, I was getting tired. You know, I was getting tired. And I was crashing. So now I have my new young wife, and I've done all the stupid shit, like raise the bar and buy a 911 for her on Valentine's Day or whatever, and buy her jewelry and stuff like that. And then I'm selling it all back, you know, like you buy a car for this much, and then you're selling it to the CarMax place for 1/4 of what you bought it for, and selling the earrings to do this and that, blah, blah, blah. And, I was jammed up, man, having kids. And, you know, she met this guy that she thought was this American poker player guy that lived in Vegas, was all this and that. And so I was getting tired. And not only was I getting tired of, you know, laying in bed by myself downstairs and laying with the kids and this and that. Sorry, my voice is from smoking.
Drink some more of that Coke.
Okay.
You know, and then you can go outside and have a cigarette.
Sorry. But Omar, you know, so my mom couldn't stop me from using. My real dad is still in active addiction. My stepdad dying couldn't stop me from using. Having 3 kids, wonderful kids that I never had a photo with until they were 9, 7, and 5, clean. Getting married loaded and not having a picture with my wife even clean. Not going to baseball games, you know, becoming that guy that, you know, I got people now that are friends with my wife. They're like, God, you're a little different, because like 10 years ago when I used to come over, you never left that room. And we call it the opium den, the room down there. And so this is when the bottom was starting to fall out. Suboxone, I still was on Suboxone, but I was up to like 3/8 a day, which is like a Christmas tree. Like lighting, it's like my brain was like a Christmas tree. It was all lit up, you know, and I was still in Xanax and all this kind of stuff. And so I was getting to the point where I'd go to the doctor early. This is when I started getting worn out. It's like, you're 4 days early, and then all of a sudden you're 8 days early. You know, on all the meds, you know, all the meds. Because I was getting aggressive, you know. And then I'd end up at my dad's house. He'd be like, hey, Dad, can you give me like 4 Suboxones? And he's like, bro, I'm not giving you any Suboxones. And I'd be like, I'll give you $100 a piece for them. I was that desperate. You know, because when you have Suboxone in your body for a long time, and you know my story about this, you better think about what you're doing, because it's a really big kick, especially with the Xanax and stuff like that. So, you know, anyways, the doctors were getting sick of me. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go see a psychiatrist, see what's wrong with me. You know, I want to know what's wrong, what's going on with my head. Why am I doing all this stupid shit? Like, you know, I would actually get up with the rituals where I'd kick the wall 3 times, put deodorant on under one arm, and be like, all right, I'm going to have a good day today. Like all these stupid things in my head. I'm going to go to a psychiatrist, you know? So I go to the psychiatrist, and he tells me, he says, he didn't even like ask me much at all, you know? I was like, wow, cool psychiatrist, you know? And he's like, so what are you taking? I go, I take this, that. And he goes, I think we should increase all your dosages. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I think it's a psychological thing with you that if you have more, you'll do less. I was like, all right, that's cool. I still didn't want to face it. You know what I'm saying? You know, so all my stuff was upped. You know what I mean? And this is coming to where I came here, where I blasted out of here in 2016. So then a friend of mine, he says, "Ant, you really need to see this real psychologist, the one that is in the loony wards in Vegas." So I'm like, "Where do I see him?" And he goes, "All right, meet us at Subway." You know, and so I walk in there and he goes, "So what are you taking?" And I told him, and he goes, "Oh, I can't see you." I was like, "Why?" He goes, "Suboxone and all this fucking bullshit stuff." He goes, "You got to stop all this right now and start taking all this other stuff I'm going to give you." And I'm like, what's Seroquel? So you want me to go Klonopins, Seroquel, and all these other brain, you know, all their mind-altering things, you know? So that's when I was coming to my crash landing. So I ended up in Costa Rica, living here for the summer. And I was having people bring me Suboxone in. So I have it floating. Do you remember that?
I remember.
When you'd come and say, "You going to the meeting?" I'd be like, "Yeah, bro, I'm going to the meeting. Come pick me up at 12." And I wouldn't go.
Nope.
Ever. But I was clean. You know that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And so I was having people fly it in. Everything just got hard, man. And so I'm back here in 2016, August. And I was running out of Suboxone. Xanax, you can get here. You can go down there and say, "Hey, listen, give me this." Or, Costa Rica, you can do that. Not that I do that. But Suboxone, I'm like going to every pharmacy, like, I need Suboxone. We don't have that in South America and Central America. So I'm like, fuck, man. And then I started getting sick. And then I ended up passing out with a Red Bull at a client's house with his kids there. And I woke up, this is August 30th. This is true. Omar knows. And I just got the fuck out of Dodge. I flew home, landed in Houston, got delayed, started getting more sick. And then I ended up in Vegas, and I had Suboxone prescriptions, at home, and I wrote void on them all. And I gave them to my wife. I said, "Honey, here, I'm going in the backyard. Don't bother me. Leave me by myself." So I went back in the backyard, called you.
I remember. Oh, yeah.
Because the fourth day kick was really hard on me. I was like, I got this. This is fucking no problem, little whatever. But the fourth day was bad, and I called you, and you remember I called you, and I said, "Oh, I'm sick, man." He's like, and you're like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "Bro, I haven't been clean ever. I don't think I've had one clean day ever since 1986. But yeah, so I lasted 9 days of kicking until the point where I was getting real crazy. You remember I was telling you I was getting real crazy.
Tell us about that.
Well, so like on day one, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should not drink Red Bull because my mom said, or 5 energy drinks. And my wife went and got me like one of those organic like energy drinks. And I don't know if you remember this part, but so like I was in the backyard. I stayed in the backyard 24 hours a day. And I had to take a shower every hour on the hour. And I'd take a bath, a shower, and then use a rubbing stone of, what do you call those stone things? Pumice stone, to rub the outside of my skin to make it hurt so much that the inside wouldn't hurt. Because I was completely broken. Like it felt like Misery when they broke the legs on the writer, James Caan.
Yep.
My legs were destroyed. My legs were swollen from all those years, and they were shrinking. I think the nerves were killing me, and I was just sick. I was just totally. I was like, I think I told you. I said I feel like I'm a lion on rabies running around my backyard. And, I have a backyard that faces a golf course. So, like, there's golfers going by, So I'm out there in my boxers, like, sick. And, the rocks are all over the place and this and that. But anyway, so I I'm thinking to myself, okay, maybe my mom will pray for me. And, God, please help me. And you know how you go to God when, like, something bad happens and you never thought of him ever. Even though I went to Catholic school, I don't even know what the hell was going on. I was like, God, help me. Mom, what do I do? Oh, maybe I just shouldn't drink the 5 energy drink, and my mom helped me get through this. And so she went and got me one of those organic, like, jungle juice things. So I'm sitting back there, I'm trying it out. I set it down, and a bee lands in it. And so I drink it, and if I can have a bee in my mouth, right? So I'm like tripping. I'm like, what the hell? This thing is in my mouth. And progressively, mentally, I was tormented. I didn't know how to adjust to feeling this pain, But like any addict, we're pretty smart people. So I had to go through until you got me in the meeting on the 10th of September, I had to go through learning this stuff on my own, And so like, I don't want to be gross or anything, but like, when you, listen, I'd rather kick off any other drug than suboxone. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, it's rough. But like, so, I was taking the showers, I was taking the baths, whatever, but I wasn't sleeping. So I'd be up at night. I think I'd be sending you pictures of me in the dark, like outside, like, just like with my legs up. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, it was horrible.
And so I wanted to sleep. So I thought to myself, maybe if I rub one out?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe if I rub one out, then I could sleep, right? So then I had this thing going on where, this is before you got me in day 10. This is like in the 6, 7, 8, 9 day. I was trying to learn all these things. I was like, okay, so I take a shower, I use the stone, I make my skin bleed so the insides don't hurt, and then I'll go downstairs, and then I'll rub one out, and then I'll fall asleep. And then I wake up 10 minutes later, and I go, holy shit, it's only been 10 minutes. And then it was just going over and over again. So then you told me to watch Mr. Robot or something.
Yeah.
So I watched Mr. Robot, and I see this crazy fucking guy on there, and I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, this is me. So then I was like, fuck that Mr. Robot. And this is true. But see, because my chemicals were all messed up. I didn't have all the right chemicals, and I needed adrenaline. So I ended up between the showers, rubbing it out, trying to sleep, watching 13 hours of the movie over and over and over and over and over again, because it's about Benghazi and all those SEALs being together. I watched that 50 times, let's say. I just kept watching it over and over and over because it gave me a little bit of like adrenaline, And around day 10, you when I talked to you, you said, Ant, you really need to go to a meeting. And I said, what meeting? And you're like, you need to go to Narcotics Anonymous, bro. I go, well, how do I find it? And it was like 8:15, 8:20 at night, right? And I loaded the app, like you said, it's probably an app. And there was a meeting at 9:00. And my wife's in there, and you gotta remember, I'm in the backyard. So like, she's telling my kids, your dad's a fucking drug addict, overlooking him out there, I'm like, oh, why now? Why now? So I'm leaving at 8:30 that night on day 10 to go to a meeting, and the meeting happened to be on the other side of town, but it's not like a luxury meeting. It's not like I have 29 years clean time and my Cadillac broke, or this and that. I went to an NA rugged meeting, court cards and stuff like that. And they say you remember some of the first things when you first get into recovery. And this guy's a good friend of mine. His first name's Selly, but he shared. Well, first of all, I couldn't walk up to the meeting because my legs were broken. So I was helped up in the meeting, this and that. And you told me they loved me, and they did. Okay, they helped me up the stairs. Then they asked me to fucking chair, and I'm like, chair? Can't even fucking move. And so anyways, I ended up, thanks to my higher power, into the right meeting. Because you know how stubborn I am. I know. I ended up in a meeting where they were sharing like prison stories, and I stabbed this dude in this prison, and I did this and that. Real shit. Like I needed that real shit. And that was my first meeting. And that meeting sent me to, a point where I started listening. People were coming to me. Do you have a sponsor? Do you do this? And this is a funny story. So after a couple, I had one meeting, I'm hoodied up. I'm all hoodied up, How much time do we have here? Because I can go for like 4 hours.
Go. We don't have 4 hours, but go.
But so I'm all hoodied up, and I'm chairing in a candlelight meeting. Can't even see. I'm holding it upside down, and she's like, "Oh, I put it like this," and people knew it was sick. I was that dude. You know, the dude that comes in, you're like, "Oh, that dude, he ain't gonna make it." People think that. They do. You got to admit that. You see someone walk in, somebody's like, "Oh, that dude's fucked up."
He's not gonna.
I was that dude. You know what I mean? So. So I walked in there and I chaired the meeting, and I actually shared it in the group, me on the ground with a white tag, but I put it in front of the recovery center's name. And I was so like, it was that night. And I was on the ground because I was beat up, after the meeting. And I had that white tag, and I sent it to you, and I put it on the group chat. And I don't know if you remember that you're probably going to kick me out of the chat because some dude said he broke tradition 6, and I'm like,
oh, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah.
So I'm like, what the fuck is tradition 6, man? I have one day. I'm just getting into this program. You're worried about tradition 6, bro? I go, come over to my house and I'll show you how you detox. I was pretty, but I didn't know any of that stuff. I was just getting involved, and just learning. But anyway, so.
That was funny, dude.
So, yeah, I was pissed at the group. I was fighting with that guy.
That's in the Facebook group.
You motherfucker. You could tell me with tradition. I don't even know what a step is. You know what I mean? Well, step 1 was my higher power. I know what a higher power was. I was just trying to do what you told me to do and listen to what they were telling me. So that became my home group. And then I got a sponsor. And then I started going, through the literature and reading and when you told me to get a sponsor, I figured out why, because I needed that person to tell me as time went on where I was at, where I was supposed to be. Because suboxone and all that shit messed me up so bad that I'd be at 27 days. I'm like, bro, why do I feel like this? He's like, oh, you're right where you're supposed to be. And so I would be 51 days. Bro, you're right where you're supposed to be. This will pass. And I'm like, the fuck? And then, but after going to the meeting and stuff like that, I also thought that my wife would validate, I wanted all the validation, hey, I'm this NA guy, I'm clean, this and that. And that's when she actually, when I got my 30-day, told me, talk to me in a fucking year. But yeah, I started going through the process. I started getting a support group and hanging out with the fellowship and learning shit, bringing the same shit that we've talked about probably for 40 years home to my wife. And it's hard for a wife who's normie when you're walking there going, this too shall pass. Or I'd be telling my kids that, it gets better. All those things that you first learn.
Oh, yeah.
When listening,
the cliches.
There's more to be revealed. You start bringing that stuff home. But then I was also bringing home the fellowship talk between, my sponsored brothers have things they say right on. And so I was bringing all this stuff to home. And so my wife was like, can't you go to a meeting where there's lawyers and stuff? And I'm like, first of all, I'm not a fucking lawyer. Do I look like a lawyer to you? And I said, I'm where I'm supposed to be. I'm in a room that I need to be in. I need people to show me what prison has done to them. What being bottomed out is. Because even though I was emotionally bottomed out, and I was also physically bottomed out, and detoxing stuff like that, somehow I managed to fucking keep a house and keep a roof over their head. I didn't have any money left, but it was still there, and I was still getting paid. But I told her, I go, this is where I need to be. This is my meeting, 9:00, the real shit. And so I started to work the program, and then I got through some steps with my sponsor, and he was 23 years old. And this is why I ended up having to switch sponsors, because this kid worked so hard to get me clean because I was so defected. I'd be like, yeah, bro, I'll be at your house at 6:30. And then I wouldn't call him. And the next day I'd be like, what's up, man? He's like, I thought you were coming. He goes, bro, you got to make commitments. And I was like, what's a commitment? He goes, for now on, you're making coffee. And I'm like, bro, I ain't making fucking coffee. He goes, no, you're making coffee. Because I needed to get some structure in my life. You know what I mean? And now when you asked me before about my daily routine, it's still, I'm learning. You know what I mean? But through the help of my program, through my fellowship and stuff like that, I had people around me that were showing me how to live. You know what I mean? And that made me think of Chris Cornell, because actually going through recovery, my grand sponsor, who's got hard backbone recovery, man. We were in the car one day and he put on Chris Cornell, Show Me How to Live. And that became my favorite song, and then he died. I just got into the fellowship where I had to tell my wife, listen, I had no shame in using. I have no shame in recovery.
Awesome.
Okay. So give me a chance to make recovery. I didn't tell her. I didn't ask her. I told her, I go, recovery is number one for me right now. And she was like, what the hell? I should be number one. The kid should be number one. And I said, if I don't get better and arrest this shit and put a plug on it or whatever, whatever we say, I said, there's nothing. There's nothing at all. So it took time for her to let me go to meetings. And it was hard, when you're like sneaking out at 8:30, like you're going, where are you going? Meeting? Oh my God, another meeting. But I needed the meetings every fucking day. Even in Australia, a few people on the SHAIR cast, I've been to meetings in Australia, Costa Rica, in Vegas. I've been to a bunch of meetings in different places. But for me, when the question came up from my wife, she said, but Aunt, you did it by yourself. And so you don't need to go to meetings anymore. And so I said, no, honey, I need to go to meetings. And so I said, I want to work the steps. I want to change my life. This is important to me now. And she's like, you're just going out and doing all that stuff with your buddies, this and that. I go, no, we actually talk about recovery. We joke. Joking is makes it fun. You know what I mean? So she let me go. She just said, do what you got to do. And so I actually did, and I kept going to meetings, this and that. But then after a year or so, step one, fucking solid. I can run to step one. I got through step 4 with the 23-year-old. But, he wanted to hang out so much. And so I had to kind of get an older sponsor that has, understood what I was dealing with. And so it happened like maybe a couple of months ago that, my wife and I got in a big fight. And she actually, when she came to my meeting for the 1-year anniversary, like a week later, she heard some shit in there. First, she's never been to a meeting. She's seen people with double bracelets on, like anklets, And she said to me, this is when I really got serious about living this program. Because, I've been white knuckling it just fucking Looney Tune, And my wife said to me, she goes, you the same. Going back to what I said about how they use that word there, about you the same junkie cunt, and I was like, who the hell are you telling me I'm not the same? She goes, you do the same thing over and over and over again. You're just not on drugs. So that's when I really had to get focused, get involved with service, and I actually took a day where I have Tuesday, like I told you before, Tuesday meetings, got a new sponsor, black, tough ass as nails guy, because that's what I need. I needed the kick in the ass. I'm a very stubborn person. I don't listen to nobody. And, I am, but I'm getting better at it, let's say. But, so now I'm seriously going through the steps. I only got through the 4th one, but maybe the 4th one just got me all fucked up. I don't know. But I'm redoing the steps with a new sponsor, and he's a great guy. And this program literally has saved my life, to the point where, from where I am, from where I've been, where I am, what I've had, this and that, I like helping these people. I like the newcomers, and I explained to my wife, I need to be there. What if someone new walks in and doesn't know what suboxone fucking does to you after 10 years, And Yeah. So, it's recovery is important, and it's lifelong. It's either a lifelong of recovery or you're death row. You're on fucking death row. And all those things we say, things will get better. They do get better. This shall pass. They do pass. All those things aren't bullshit. Those things people have said for a reason. And if we just later on, we start understanding that stuff, we get it. One day you're just like, you get it. And you're like, fuck yes, this program fucking works. And it took a long time. But I'm grateful for my fellowship and NA out here, for you, for sending me on my merry way and talking to me the first 90, 100 days. when I was what's happened to you, Omar, what am I doing? I'm tired. Even to the point where I called you and I said, Omar, it's been 101 days, and you know what? I think I feel okay. Now what? Because I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? And that's when I called my sponsor. He's like, maybe you should work step 2. And so, but yeah, there's a lot of, it's important to be around other addicts. It's really important because, I'll trim this up, and close this out. But, going back to, you look at me, I'm wearing a Narcotics Anonymous.
You got an NA hat, you got an NA necklace.
You know why? Because I have to live this shit. I have to live this shit on a daily basis. I have to wake up every morning and check myself. Because I cannot take another, I don't think I have another recovery in me. I just really don't, honestly. I'm not like the bullshitter 24-year-old dude that, is like, I don't have another recovery, man. I'm like, you're fucking 24, bro. You look great. Because you see those people in meetings that are like 24 and they're like, yeah, I got 29 days clean. I was like yoga and the gym. And I was like, what the hell? Because, I look like that I went through a lot of shit kind of dude, that kind of dude. And then you see these people that like are young and this and that. And you're like, gym? But like, I finally got to the gym. Oh, it's a big deal. And it's a guy in my fellowship who trains me. It's a big deal. And so I'm starting to do things. I'm starting to do some normal shit in my life. I'm starting to be organized. I let my wife handle the fucking bills. I'm like, yeah, you know what? 1 + 1 does not equal 2 in this fucking house. So if you want to figure out the bills, go ahead, have fun. Because she has to go fix all the wreckage, all this stuff. Like, where's this? Why do we have a bill from 10 years ago? Or all this kind of stuff. And why do we have to go to the power company to pay the bill? We can't do it online anymore. Because you got to and it's a process. Some people don't like that word process, but it's a process, where early recovery can be so hard that you can't even press the button to pay the power bill on your phone. You know what I mean? You're like, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. So, gradually I'm starting to be able to be what you and I talked about over a year ago, a productive member of society, okay? Where I drive, even though I drive Tico style in Vegas still, but I'm able to function and take my kids, go to their baseball games, and the past is the past. What can I do? You know what I mean? I just know from here on out, baseball beanie at the kids' fucking baseball game, my wife hates it. I'm sorry. I have to live this stuff day to day and not risk dying. Because, in Vegas, people fucking dying all the time. It's sad. And in Vegas, it's unbelievable to me, to comprehend. Like, I come in September 1st, 2016. I come in there. There's guys 11 years clean. And they're fucking like giving you all the book talk, like, well, it says this and that, and you pee on yesterday, it pees on tomorrow. You know that expression? Whatever, all these lingo, he's got all this lingo shit like that. I got 11 years clean, blah, 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 relapse. But he can recite it all, but he wasn't living this shit. He can recite every fucking thing in the whole book. I can't. But I try to live as much as I know. and gradually get more and more involved so that that doesn't happen to me. Because what happens to the people that, what if I'm 55 years old and I have no wife, lose everything, and I'm on the street? That's when you're just done. Because the help's not there. It's hard to help someone that's that far down. And I never want to risk it. I never want to risk my clean date, my sobriety, or, being clean, stuff like that. And, I thank the podcast and you, everyone here, at the house for letting me come. And, I'm sorry, I'm not a real, probably maybe Judy and those, the ones that know all the book stuff, are really good. I'm telling you I'm straight up what my life has been. I share the same in meetings. I share about yesterday and today. I can't share about page 77, recovery and relapse, every word. But I can tell you what fucking happens every fucking day in my life and what I have to deal with this disease that wants me dead. And that's it.
And that is perfect, Ant. Thank you, brother.
Am I allowed to smoke now? No.
Stop with the smoking.
Listen. I am trying to quit the smoking until yesterday's meeting turned into a fucking smoking meeting. I don't know who started it, but someone in the 12 started this cancer shit, and now I'm all fucking tripped out about having cancer.
Well, whatever it takes, buddy.
Maybe I should just stop quit smoking.
Whatever it takes.
I love
Maybe
you.
I should quit smoking, right? Nothing bad's going to happen if you quit. Nothing bad is going to happen if you quit.
Tattoos are okay.
Tattoos are okay.
I love you. I love you, brother.
I love you too. All right. But before we close up,
Yeah.
all right, you know how I like to close up, and it's for the newcomer. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions about your early recovery. I want you to answer these to the best of your ability so you can inspire the newcomers. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Number 1, what was keeping you from getting clean or staying clean when you first got introduced to recovery?
I had the ability to keep using, I guess, financially, and I didn't understand how the disease worked. I mean,
you didn't know you had a disease.
I didn't know I had a disease. I'm good. I thought I was good.
Yeah.
I thought you could just use forever.
I got this.
I got this.
All right. So number 2, at what point did you have a spiritual awakening, that aha moment in recovery, when you accepted that you were powerless over drugs and alcohol, but for the first time had discovered that you could, but for the first time had developed the hope that you could recover?
When you told me to get my ass up and get into the meeting at 9:00 at night on September 10th, 2016, I thought that I could do it because I had you. It's a big part of it.
I had your back, bro.
You had my back.
Every single day, through every disgusting detail, I was there for you.
And coming back, people can't call me cracky anymore. People used to call me cracky. They're like, hey, cracky. But anyways.
All right.
Was that a good answer?
That was a great answer. Okay.
It's truth, brother.
What is the best suggestion you have ever received?
The best suggestion that, I can say don't use no matter what. I mean, that's what everyone says. But, just take it day by day. Don't be hard on myself. You know what? Honestly, it was the same thing over and over that the person told me. When I would go back and say, well, my wife is like this, my wife is like that. And so this is your answer. Don't worry about that. It'll all fall into place.
Beautiful. I love it. All right. And finally, if you could give our newcomers only one suggestion, what would it be?
Honestly, to them, I would have to say, is it just one sentence, or can I just give them a...
You can give us a few things if you'd like.
All right. For any newcomers out there, it's not impossible to get your life back. I see a lot of people who... I see a lot of sad people. I have a friend that spent 19 years in solitary that has 1 year clean time. He's a good friend of mine. If a guy in solitary confinement can come into NA and get clean, I think the rest of you can. And just think about what you're doing to the people around you, because if you think that you're using and you're good and you're not hurting anybody, you're fooling yourself. Because look at all the things I just said that I did that I never thought that hurt anybody, until you get the will that says Anthony gets nothing. But get into a meeting, get a sponsor, share. Share is so important in my recovery. Share. That's one of my biggest things, for newcomers. Get into a meeting and fucking talk about what's going on in your fucking life, man. Even you don't need to recite the book. You don't need to go in there and say what's happening to you yesterday and today, how you felt like fucking using on the bus, but you didn't. And come share that with other people. That's what I do on a daily basis. I need that in my life. So I don't know, just listen, you're never going to use successfully. It's impossible. It's going to catch up to you, and you're going to be at the bitter ends. Jail, institutions, or death.
And that's how we're going to close this out. Anthony, thank you so much for joining us, brother.
All right, brother. I'm glad to be here.
All right, we've now reached the end of our show. Thanks for joining us. And as we say here in Costa Rica,
Pura vida.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Pura vida.
Thank you for joining us on the SHAIR Recovery Podcast. To check out the show notes page on this interview or to thank our guests for sharing their story, go to www.theshairpodcast.com. While you're on the website, don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter to stay up to date on the latest news, podcasts, and interviews. Want to be one of our guests and share your story? Then go to our website and click on the Share Your Story button. We share our inspiring recovery stories every Tuesday, so subscribe to our show on iTunes or Stitcher Radio to get your free weekly download. We'll see you then. The opinions shared on this show reflect those of the individual speaker and not of any 12-Step Fellowship as a whole. And though we discuss 12-Step recovery and the impact it had in our lives, we do not promote or endorse any 12-Step Anonymous program.